Phil Shenon is the author of A Cruel and Shocking Act, The Secret History of the Kennedy Assassination, and here to talk about these pending release of documents concerning JFK's assassination. Good morning.
Good morning.
What do we expect to see released?
Well, we're going to see thousands and thousands of pages of documents released online. It's fascinating that people all around the world are going to see these documents at the same moment. And it's going to be very difficult for weeks, if not months, to really understand what's in there. We understand that these include 3,100 documents about the assassination that have never been seen by the public before, and something like 30,000 other documents that have been released in the past in redacted form with material edited out. We're supposed to see them in full, but we still have no word from President Trump about exactly what he's going to allow to be released.
Is it your expectation that everything comes out, or does he have the ability to hold some back?
The only person who has the power to withhold any of these documents, there's a 1992 law that required the release of every document in the government's files relating to the assassination. The only person who can block that is the president, and it turns out the president is Donald Trump right now. He has said that he will release all of these files unless there is compelling national security information that has to be withheld. And I think there's a frantic effort at the White House this week by the CIA and the FBI in particular to try to block some of this release.
In your mind, what would classify as a national security concern?
Well, to my mind, I mean, I guess I speak as an historian these days. I think this should all be released. It should have been released years ago. You know, we've been dealing with conspiracy theories now for 54 years. It's really time to put an end to this as best we can. But apparently the argument may be made this week that some of these documents were prepared in the 1990s, involve relatively recent intelligence or law enforcement operations that might still be endangered if these documents were released.
The National Archives holds these. There's a website that you can go to see the documents that already exist and then the pending documents as they come out. Why does it take so long to get us to this point for the release of all this information so many years later?
Well, the story is that in 1991, Oliver Stone produced his film JFK, which produced 1 million conspiracy theories about the assassination, really kicked up a ruckus. Congress reacted the following year by passing a law that required the release of all documents related to the assassination to try to tamp down some of the conspiracy theories. And as a result of that law in the 1990s, millions of pages of documents were made public. Now, a small handful, about 3,100 documents now, have been held back all these years because agencies like the FBI and the CIA argued that they might somehow endanger national security. But under that law, there was a 25-year deadline, and that 25-year deadline to release everything in full is Thursday.
Phil Shenon, the author of A Cruel and Shocking Act, The Secret History of the Kennedy Assassination, here to talk about the release of these documents. What would you like information would you like to see come from these documents? Are there still unanswered questions in your mind about what happened?
There are. The material I'm most interested in involves what I've always considered the secret hidden chapter of the Kennedy assassination story, which is it involves Mexico City. It involves a mysterious trip that Lee Harvey Oswald, the assassin, paid to Mexico just several weeks before the assassination, where we know from previously declassified files he met with Cuban spies and Russian spies and other people who at the very height of the Cold War might have wanted to see President Kennedy dead. And we know two other things. One is that Oswald was an avowed Marxist. He was a supporter of Castro's revolution. And the fact that the CIA had Oswald under aggressive surveillance in Mexico City while he was there. In Mexico City, he apparently was talking openly about his intention to kill the president. The question in my mind is, what did the CIA know in real time, weeks before the assassination, about the threat that this man posed?
Does it change the he acted alone narrative then?
It might. It doesn't point to something like a second gunman in Dealey Plaza, but it certainly suggests he may have been in contact with people who may have encouraged him to do this, maybe even offered to help him to do this or to help after he was able to carry it out. And that is, that leads to the question of whether or not there were accessories to this crime, whether or not there were co-conspirators in this crime.
So when it's released and people go to the website, is this material that the average person could understand, or do you have to have some working knowledge of how this works to kind of even make sense of what's released?
No, and that's why I fear a lot of people are going to be disappointed when they begin to pour through this material. You know, this is government officials writing to other government officials. A lot of this is CIA code names and pseudonyms. Some of it's going to be in foreign languages. Some of it, based on past experience, is going to be illegible. I think it's going to be very hard, even for people who have some background on this, to make sense of these documents for I say, weeks or months or even years.
Is it a possibility that the documents can reveal how both the CIA and the FBI performed in this matter when it comes to the lead up to the assassination and how they reacted afterward?
Absolutely. And I think, you know, the narrative of the Kennedy assassination has changed dramatically over the years, from the idea that Oswald was this pure lone wolf, this delusional young man whose plot to kill Kennedy could never have been foiled. Certainly the FBI and the CIA argued they didn't have the chance to stop it. The story seems to be that actually Oswald may have told other people what he was going to do, may have gotten help in doing what he was going to do. And I think a lot of the documents we're going to see are going to suggest just how much more the CIA and the FBI knew about Lee Harvey Oswald before the assassination.
What are you personally going to do with the information that comes out? Do you plan to revise the book at all, or what's your interest particularly?
If something really rewrites the story as I understand it, I'd be intrigued to try to rewrite some of my book, but I don't think that's going to be the situation. I think we're going to be presented with lots more evidence to show that this cover-up by the CIA and the FBI of what they had known before the assassination, I think we're just going to get new information to bolster that.
Phil Shenon, the author of A Cruel and Shocking Act. Thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you.